My mother-in-law, Catherine, said some harsh things when we found out my husband would be moving abroad. She took away our house, leaving me and my daughter with nowhere to go. Feeling lost, I went to the park with my 2-year-old. Out of nowhere, police surrounded us and asked us to go to the station in the pouring rain. Shivering from the cold, I followed them. At the police station, I was surprised to find Emma, a 35-year-old woman, waiting for me. She shared her story of meeting her husband, Bob, at work, getting married, and having a daughter named Lily. Emma, Bob, Lily, and Catherine, my mother-in-law, lived together in a new apartment. They initially rented, but after Catherine's husband passed away and she had knee problems, they bought an apartment for better accessibility. They considered a house but opted for an apartment with an elevator. They made a down payment and took out a 35-year loan. Bob's company doesn't usually transfer employees often, but since we bought our house, they assured us he wouldn't be moved anytime soon. However, he ends up traveling for work almost every week to different states. With a 2-year-old daughter, I get stressed when he's away. Initially, Catherine, my mother-in-law, was helpful, but now she doesn't assist with childcare and even adds to my workload. She leaves dishes around without cleaning them, and even when I ask her to rinse them, she just apologizes without taking action. Interestingly, she rinses the dishes when Bob is around, and I only noticed recently. I used to think it was okay since she occasionally helped, but now I believe she's intentionally making things difficult for me. She also plays games, like asking if I need anything from the store and later saying she actually did. This happens frequently. Despite her knee problems, I wanted to help her, but my willingness to assist is fading. I considered talking to Bob, but I didn't want to stress him more. Catherine's behavior started when we began living together and has continued for years. A friend suggested it might be a form of bullying and advised talking to Bob. However, I feared that involving him could lead to Catherine being placed in a facility since she has no other relatives. I considered enduring it until an event changed my perspective. That day, I had intended to drop off Lily at my parents' place. They adore having Lily over for sleepovers. During our chat, they suggested I stay over sometimes too. Although I'd love to, my concern for leaving Catherine alone held me back. After a brief visit, I decided to head back to the apartment where Catherine was waiting. Upon reaching there, I realized I had left the keys at home. Despite my initial worry, I remembered Catherine was at home, so I rang the intercom. However, there was no response to the room number I dialed. Wondering if she had gone out, I decided to wait outside. 2 hours passed with no sign of Catherine. It was 7 p.m., and darkness had set in. Just then, another resident arrived, and I entered with them. Knowing Catherine rarely went out at night, I was confident she was at home. With that belief, I pressed the intercom button outside our apartment. Though I heard the ding-dong sound, there was still no response. Waiting by the door, I eventually heard a faint sound from inside, confirming Catherine's presence. Despite trying the intercom several times, she refused to come out. Feeling defeated, I spent the night at a nearby motel, planning to return when Bob came back from his business trip. What happened? Out shopping, actually. I explained to Bob that Catherine had locked me out. He was rightfully upset on my behalf, but Catherine casually attributed it to her hearing loss, saying, "Maybe I didn't hear because of my hearing. I'm getting old, you know," with a hidden smirk. Glad to be back inside, I grabbed my keys and went to pick up Lily from my parents' house. When I discussed the situation with them, they'd offered support, saying, "Sounds like she's giving you a hard time. If it becomes too much, you're always welcome back here. Remember, you're our precious daughter." Their comforting words brought tears, but I quickly wiped them away in front of Lily and headed home. Things were quiet with Catherine for a while, but suddenly, Bob's permanent international transfer was confirmed. Despite just buying a place, he asked, "What do you think about staying in the US? Can you handle living with my mom?" Unable to answer immediately, considering potential stress for Lily, I eventually decided it would be best for us to stay in the US. Shortly after this decision, Bob had to leave for Europe. Though he was concerned, work kept him occupied, so the life of me, Lily, and Catherine was about to begin. Living with Catherine took a turn for the worse once Bob left for Europe. Her attitude changed drastically. On a stormy day, Catherine surprised me with a bombshell. "Now that Bob's gone, wouldn't it be better if you and Lily move out?" Shocked, I asked for clarification, but she insisted, "I'll take over. I can't relax with strangers in the house. Please leave right now." I couldn't believe her audacity. While it's true we aren't blood relatives, I've always tried to make our living together comfortable, treating her like family. Yet to Catherine, it seemed we were merely an afterthought. Considering going back to my parents' place, Catherine urged me to leave immediately. Before I knew it, Lily and I were thrown out, dressed as we were. Despite my pleas, Catherine refused to open the door. Lost and confused, I carried Lily through the pouring rain to a nearby park, hoping its roof would offer some shelter. Ideally, I would have checked into a motel or returned to my parents' place, but I left my wallet and phone inside the house. Feeling helpless, I sat in the park, trying to figure out our next move. Time passed in the torrential downpour, and overwhelmed by fatigue and cold, I began to doze off. It was dark, and despite the summer, the cold was biting. As bad as things were, the only option seemed to be a 3-hour walk to my parents' home. While pondering our situation, I noticed 2 distant lights approaching through the rain. Despite the obscured visibility, I could tell they were police officers. Hoping for help, one of them called out, "Are you Emma? And is this little one Lily?" Surprised they knew our names, I weakly confirmed, "Yes, that's us." The officer then requested, "Please come to the station with us." Perplexed, I questioned, "Why the police station?" Unsure if something was wrong, I complied as they urged Lily and me into the patrol car. We were freezing, but the officers had brought large towels and assured us, "You might need these. We've got spare clothes at the station for you." Curious about how they knew about us and the reason for heading to the police station, I asked, "How did you know where to find us?" Their response was, "We'll explain everything once we're back at the station. For now, just try to relax." Exhausted, I soon dozed off and woke up to find we had arrived at the police station. Inside, to my surprise, I saw Catherine and my uncle. "Uncle, what are you doing here?" He explained that Bob had contacted him. "Bob suspected you might be having issues with his mom, and since he's abroad, he wanted me to keep an eye on things for him." My uncle shared that Bob had talked to him about this issue previously, asking him to keep an eye on things since he couldn't be there himself due to being overseas. He had seen us in the rain earlier and considered taking us in, but Catherine's extreme behavior prompted him to report it to the police. That's how the officers knew our location and came to our aid. Catherine, sitting on a sofa at the police station, glared at me, seemingly unaware of the reason for her presence. She argued, "Why do I have to be here? I have a bad knee. If Bob were here, this wouldn't be happening." Despite her protests, the situation arose from Bob seeking my uncle's help. In discussions with the police, the possibility of legal implications emerged, leading to the suggestion that I consider hiring an attorney. Catherine dismissed it, saying, "An attorney? That's an overreaction. I just locked the door, that's all. I didn't do anything else." My uncle defended us, highlighting the severity of Catherine throwing us out in torrential rain. He asserted that, in fact, I was the rightful owner of the house. Catherine believed Bob was the owner, but she was mistaken. My uncle, running a real estate business, had arranged a great deal on a condo for us, recommended by Bob. The property was put under my name, a decision I had been indifferent about initially but now appreciated. Following my uncle's counsel, I opted to hire a lawyer. The legal expert conveyed that evicting Catherine would pose challenges, suggesting that placing her in a care facility might be the most feasible solution. Upon learning this, I promptly called Bob to provide an update. Bob, caught off guard by the escalation of the issue, expressed his desire to return from Japan for a thorough discussion. He mentioned considering the option of placing Catherine in a facility. Unaware of these developments, Catherine, still at the police station, casually snacked on crackers. Unable to return home with her, I decided to seek refuge at my parents' place until Bob's return. With Bob expected back in a week, I had some time to contemplate our next steps. If Bob didn't stand by me, divorce seemed like the only recourse. Regret lingered, wishing I had sought advice sooner. A week later, Bob returned from Europe, and I moved back home from my parents' place. Due to the urgency of his return, Bob had limited time in Japan before going back to Europe, so we needed to discuss our next steps. I heard some things from Emma's uncle. Is all of that true? Catherine stubbornly denied any wrongdoing, claiming it was all lies and that I was plotting to evict her. Surprisingly, Bob, who should have supported me, seemed inclined to consider Catherine's perspective. Do you have any evidence to prove Emma's plotting something? He asked Catherine. Evidence? Of course not, she replied. Bob then turned to me, asking if I had any evidence. Being busy with work, I hadn't been able to keep a close eye on things, but I handed Bob a voice recorder I had with me. What's this? When Bob played it, he heard recordings of Catherine not only evicting me, but also frequently berating me, calling me a worthless wife. In response, Catherine quickly defended herself, claiming it was taken out of context. Despite Catherine's attempt to downplay her actions, a barrage of recorded verbal abuses played from the voice recorder, revealing numerous instances, some of which weren't even captured. Bob's hand, holding the voice recorder, trembled with tension and anger. Catherine, looking guilt-ridden, claimed, "Everyone has their moments, right?" I was just frustrated at that time, but it was just this once. However, the evidence spoke volumes. When Bob questioned her, she remained silent, and as he asserted the need to protect me and Lily, Catherine, probably witnessing this side of Bob for the first time, appeared frightened and speechless. Discussions continued until Bob's return to Europe. I made it clear that I couldn't continue living with Catherine, especially with Lily in the picture, and Bob seemed to share my sentiment, leaning towards placing Catherine in a care facility. However, Catherine strongly opposed the idea, complicating the discussions. Despite her resistance, I decided to sell the house. You can't stay here anymore. If you don't want the facility, you'll need to find another place. Catherine resisted, refusing to allow the sale of the house, but it was a tough decision to accommodate. Lily and I had resolved to move to Europe, a choice influenced by Bob's regret for not being more present for his family. Though hesitant about living abroad, knowing Bob would be with us provided reassurance. Additionally, Lily, being only 2 years old, would benefit from practicing her communication skills in Europe. Therefore, selling the condo, which still had a mortgage, became the only viable option. Leaving it as it was meant Catherine would have to cover the mortgage, an unrealistic expectation given her fixed income. Considering her future needs, someone should be available to assist her. Despite our efforts, Catherine staunchly refused to move into a facility. Consequently, we had to take the step of placing her there against her will. I'm sorry, but I've got to head back to Europe. Could you handle any required procedures here? Bob inquired before his departure. With assistance from those around me, I successfully completed the necessary steps for Catherine's admission into the facility. The facility staff kept me informed about her condition, and unfortunately, she wasn't faring well. It would have been different if she were just feeling down, but it appeared she was causing trouble for others in the facility. Before leaving for Europe, I visited her to check on her well-being. However, she lashed out, exclaiming, "What's the big idea? Why have you locked me up in this place?" Her frustrations extended to the staff, complaining about the food, discomfort of the beds, and snide remarks from other residents. When I apologized to the staff, they were understanding. "It's all good," one of them reassured me. "We encounter this behavior often. Leave it to us. We'll keep you updated, and if anything arises, we'll give you a call, so don't worry." Despite enduring harassment from Catherine during our time living together, I couldn't shake off my worries as I headed to Europe. Upon reaching Paris, Bob greeted me at the airport, and we made our way to the apartment we had rented. While it's true that rents in Paris are often higher than in Texas, Bob's housing allowance from the company proved fortunate, allowing us to find a spacious and affordable place. Our neighbors in the building have been incredibly friendly and kind, even though my French isn't fluent. Just yesterday, a neighbor shared wine and cheese, and I reciprocated with some mac and cheese. Meanwhile, I'm gradually learning French alongside my daughter Lily, recognizing the limitations of self-study. I've also enrolled in a language school where I've made friends with fellow Americans new to France. Life in Paris is truly enjoyable. Back in the States, my constant concern for Catherine often hindered my enjoyment during outings with friends. However, here in Paris, I can savor leisurely lunches without such worries. The only current concern is Lily, who is still too young for kindergarten. Typically, children here start kindergarten at 5, so I hope Lily picks up enough French by then. Thankfully, she seems to be catching on quickly. Once Lily starts preschool, I'm contemplating getting a job. Although Bob is okay with me staying at home, the experience of living in Paris has sparked a desire to explore more opportunities. Making friends with a waitress at a nearby cafe, I learned there might be a job opportunity there. The cafe is not only popular among the American community, but many customers are also learning English. While challenges may arise, our communication has improved since coming to France. I feel more confident expressing my feelings, and no matter what lies ahead, I believe we'll face it as a family. Right now, I'm experiencing a level of happiness I've never felt before. My name is Nancy. Thanks for reading. I don't know much about the world outside. I learned about it from watching TV as a child. It showed me animals that lived in the wild, scenery I had never seen before, and the daily lives of people who spoke different languages. I was brave enough to study abroad while I was in college because I wanted to get a closer look at this strange world. That's where I found the unknown world I was looking for. People's lives were going well, even though they spoke a different language. There were many animals and beautiful scenery to see. I want other people to feel this wonder too, so I thought I had a job at a tour agency. I was in charge of planning tours for the group I worked for. I was able to handle everything from site checks to negotiations thanks to what I learned while studying abroad. Even though my life was very busy, I didn't forget about my personal life. Daniel and I got married a few years ago. We met at work. Work and family life were going well for me until something came up. It was with Barbara, my wife's mom. Barbara is a housewife who thinks that after getting married, women should stay at home. I don't disagree with her point of view, but I believe that thought is out of date. Even though I told her that, she said, "Isn't it a woman's job to take care of Daniel? In what way does that bother you?" "What though? What are you saying?" asked Daniel's wife. No. In the end, Barbara didn't get that I didn't want her to tell me what to think. I couldn't keep living with Barbara like this, so I told Daniel he should buy a house. The way people see us might change after we buy a house. Daniel decided to buy a house right away after hearing that. That's how I didn't have to live with Barbara. But the story didn't end there. Barbara began to come over more often after we bought the house. She would come over every weekend and make noise with Daniel. She didn't care for her husband, Anthony. Of course. "Barbara, can I leave Anthony alone? He's not a kid. He can handle it. Wasn't it a woman's job to take care of her husband?" I wanted to answer, but I thought it would start a fight, so I didn't. Then Barbara, who had been making a lot of noise with Daniel, started talking to someone else. I forgot to say that next week I'm going on a trip. Be careful, please. "What do you mean, Nancy? You're also coming." But it's so sudden." "Are you not going to go on the trip with the family as Daniel's wife?" "But there's also work to do. We're going on vacation with our family. Aren't our in-laws family to you?" "That's not what I mean." "Then make it happen." Yes. Even though I couldn't answer, that was still the best part. When Barbara saw that I was upset, she said in a mean voice, and booked the hotel. I should always brag about working at a travel agency, right? I'm not bragging. So you can do it, right? Where do we want to go? England? London? Where is London? I went to school abroad. I still know a lot of people there. It might be difficult for other countries or regions, but maybe I can manage London. All right, I'll try. I already have my plane tickets, so all you have to do is book the room. You booked the flight, but not the hotel. I bought the tickets. I got them. I bought first-class tickets with my card points. Barbara made a face. From her happiness, it looked like it was true. Then I saw stacks of brand-name items on the couch. I see. Yes, I get it. When Daniel heard first class, he leaned in. Being first class. Are you sure, Mom? Yes, it's a first-class trip to another country. Very cool. We're leaving at 9:30 p.m., so you have time to work until the very end. Barbara's smile was still there. It seemed strange, but there's no reason to lie about going on vacation. But it's so sudden. I need to book the hotel properly or she'll be mad. It might not be easy to find a room. After giving it some thought, I chose to get a hotel recommendation from people I knew when I studied abroad. Can you do it at Nancy's request? I asked over the phone. Sure. There are 2 rooms for 4 people. Thank you. With that, I was able to book the room. Then I forgot to take the day off for the trip because I had to go so quickly. That's why I worked. Barb told me to meet her at the airport at 6 p.m., so I should be able to make it if I finish work soon. That's what I thought when Barbara called all of a sudden. Hello, Barbara. Nancy, are you done with work? I'm just leaving the office now, so I'll be at the airport after 6 o'clock p.m. Oh, that's too bad. Well, we're actually leaving at 6 o'clock p.m. No way. I ran back to my desk quickly. I used my computer to look up the trip times. Come on, London. That flight I heard about at 9:30 p.m., I found it, but there was also one that left after 6 o'clock p.m. Could it be this flight after 6 p.m.? Yes. So the family is going without you. What about Anthony if you leave me behind? You should really be sick. I was very angry. How could she have planned so well to leave me out? Not forgivable. Barbara would benefit from seeing how angry I am, though. Even though it meant putting on a brave face, I had to hide how I felt. Barb, I clenched my teeth and told her, I booked the hotel, so Daniel knows the name of the hotel. Now there's nothing you can do. Barb laughed on the other end of the line. I was angry, so I told them, go without me. I like that better. Our family doesn't need a wife like you. Not useful. How do you mean? Do you not know? Because of work, you don't do your chores. Daniel is not happy. I do have a lot of work to do, but I've never skipped doing my housework. Why would Daniel be upset? Can I speak to Daniel? Sure. Nancy wants to talk. Daniel's voice came after Barbara's mocking one. Hi there. What's up, Nancy? Daniel, what do you mean you're upset with me? Just that you're always at work and neglecting me. Do you mean neglect? I clean, cook, and do laundry. You think you're taking care of everything yourself, right? Not true. Don't you think you should treat me better? Listen to me and do things for me. I know that a wife who helps her husband is appreciated. The husband likes it, but that's not the only thing that makes a marriage work. I never say bad things about Daniel in public. I only praise him, not when there are only 2 of us. But we need to say what we think when we're by ourselves. If I didn't, our relationship would end, and Daniel would have me as his helper. Still, he kept whining about me. So you think you can act all high and mighty because you earn more? Not at all. In any case, that bothers me. You're leaving me behind for that. Sure, think of it as stress release. Don't worry. I'll bring you a small gift. That's not the point. It was clear that Daniel didn't care about me. I have my own plans, if that's how things are. Okay, have fun on the trip. That's fine. Bye. Daniel was happy when he hung up. I was furious. Because Daniel and Barbara were so selfish, I couldn't stand them. Enjoy your trip without me, but be ready for anything. I won't forgive you, even if you cry and say sorry when you come back. I quickly left the office with my cell phone. Hi there, my name is Nancy. Are you available? I need to talk about which hotel I booked. I had a lot of time now that the trip was over. I'll take care of everything now. I ran around with that drive. After that, I got home that night, tired. The phone rang right then. Hello, Nancy. What were you thinking? Barb was on the other end of the line, and she sounded very angry. I was lying when I knew the reason. Barbara, how is the trip going for you? That's not what we need right now. The hotel won't let us check in. Did you have a reservation? You made the reservation, didn't you? I canceled it because I wasn't going. Huh? Then what? Where are we going to stay tonight? I don't know, Nancy. The angry voice of Barbara could be heard, but she is in London. It's not scary at all that she's mad on the phone. That's tough, not having a room while you're away. You could have anything happen. Huh? You should know that it's not the best place. Wait. Help me. Barbara sounded scared, and then there was a faint noise in the background. There's an empty room. Anthony is trying to make it possible for us to stay there. Daniel's voice was there. Is that true, Daniel? It looks like it'll be fine, you see. Nancy knew about that. The tone of Barbara's voice changed from sad to happy, as if her tears earlier were not real. I heard you, Nancy. I feel bad for you. It didn't go as planned. Because I canceled, the room was free. All of this was part of my plan, though. I had another goal in mind. I was glad there was a spot open. I thought you'd be proud that they canceled our hotel reservation. Didn't you? No, not really. Don't you feel frustrated? If you're mad, you can say so. I just changed my mind and won't be going. Trying to look strong. What a shame. This is typical of Daniel's useless wife. Barbara let out a loud laugh. Then she kept talking about how beautiful the place was and how good the food was, among other things. I finally got tired of listening and quietly hung up the phone. It's likely she didn't even notice. That thought made me smile a little. Anyway, we only have a few more days to go. I got ready and ate dinner. After a few days, Barbara called me again as I was on my way back from somewhere to the station. Hey, Nancy. How are you? What the heck is going on? Not once more. What is wrong with this hotel? What are you talking about? Barbara's story. In short, Anthony was able to get them to stay in the room I had to cancel because of his negotiation skills. The talks that Anthony was having went smoothly. The girls would stay in a room that was left open. The plan was for them to stay for 4 days and check out today, but the hotel charged them £8,000 for their stay. Then what's the matter? It costs £2,000 a night, right? Huh, you'd pay about $2,500 a night for that. It's silly. Does that mean it's for 2 rooms? That's about $1,200 per room. Yes, you did tell Daniel it was $300 per room per night. That means it should be $600 for 2 rooms. Why does it cost 4 times as much? Wow. I was shocked. They stayed there without even seeing how much the rooms cost. Well, I knew this was going to happen, so I set it up that way. Anyway, Barbara's noise on the phone must be annoying other people. I need to make her feel better. Hey, Nancy, can you hear me? Nancy, Barbara, can you be a bit quieter? What made you lie? She's good at blaming others without taking a look at herself. I started to explain to Barbara when I got angry. The $300 rate was because I booked the room. Huh. I asked a friend who runs a hotel because it was very last minute. Someone you know. Yes, a room at their hotel costs about $600 for 2 people. Why then $11,200? That price gets you a really nice room. A friend helped me out. Help me out. Since there were no other rooms available, they set up a nicer one. So, is this the regular price? Barbara is sounding tense. When Barbara told me there wasn't enough time for the trip, I told my friend that any room would do. The only available room was a pricey suite. My friend was kind and gave me a low price. I didn't ask Barbara to leave me behind. I told my friend right away what was going on and got the room canceled. While I couldn't leave Barbara and the others without a place to stay, I did offer to do so at the normal rate if they came. Since Daniel had told Barbara about the hotel, I knew she wouldn't check the price, and I was right. You knew you were supposed to say that. It won't help to yell. Make sure you pay. Nancy, we're not going to pay. You do. But if you don't pay, you'll be arrested. Pinned up. Of course, problems overseas can be a mess. Do you agree with that? Barbara didn't seem to know what to say. Barbara yelled, "Don't mess with me," just as I was hanging up the phone because I thought I had won. This will make you feel bad when I get back. That's fine, but we're strangers now, right? Huh? Why? Well, you said it was a trip with your family. Since I'm not there, I'm not family, right? That's different. Anthony's voice came over the phone before she could finish. Why are you shouting so loudly? Do not talk. It is embarrassing. Anthony, I took advantage of the chance and called out to him. He saw it and replied, "Nancy, are you all right? How is your cold?" I never had a cold in the first place. What? Give it to me. Anthony took Barbara's phone. It looked like his voice got stronger. Nancy, can you explain everything? I can, actually. From the start, I told him everything. His voice got softer over time. I see. That's why you didn't show up. I am sorry. I wanted to go. Don't worry, Nancy. You're not to blame. Daniel and Barbara are there. A whimper could be heard from far away. Anthony's anger seemed to scare Barbara and Daniel. When I thought about this, an idea came to me. Should I explain to Anthony what Barbara has been up to? I believed that. This is why I turned to Anthony. Anthony, can I tell you something? What is it? Barbara comes to our house almost every weekend. I know that. And when she throws away receipts at our place, there are piles of them. What receipts for brand goods? It's fine to buy a lot, but please dispose of the receipts at your place. Barbara wasn't just making a lot of noise at our house. She was also buying brand name items and throwing away the papers to hide them for Anthony. She thought this way she wouldn't get caught. Of course, I'm a witness, so it's pointless. Anthony didn't seem to know, though. That's interesting to know. Also, tell her to stop talking badly about you at our house. She talks about me too. Yes, she does say you don't make much money. Daniel also says that he is a bad dad. I think. Anything else? Well, I finally let out all of my anger on Anthony. Even though some of it wasn't directly about Anthony, he listened quietly and then said sorry to me at the end. Sorry about that. I get it now. Understand what? Why Barbara didn't want to use her card to pay for the hotel. Maybe, probably because the cost was much higher than she expected, close to her credit limit. Sorry about that. That voice was Barbara. It's not okay that you waste so much money. Barbara, I want to get a divorce. Please, don't do that. After Anthony's yelling, Barbara's sad voice came next. He yelled at Daniel too. Daniel, why don't you defend your wife? That's, please stop coming to my house. Just think about this. Yes, sir. Daniel seemed incredibly obedient. He probably didn't think it was a big deal that his parents kicked him out of the house. That's when I dealt the last blow. So, Daniel, it looks like you're going to live alone now, huh? What do you mean? At that moment, Daniel's voice grew louder. He must have taken the phone. and moved my phone out of the way and told him what was going on. Daniel, I want a divorce. A split up. Are you kidding me? No, I mean it. The house is already gone. You bought it? Why do you not tell me about that? That's our home. No, that's my house. But I also had to pay the bills. You weren't. I said, how do you mean? Every month, I gave you some of my pay. That was for living costs. I paid the payment myself because a few hundred wasn't enough. With my name on the house, there was no reason to be upset. I decided to get a divorce from Daniel because of this event. I sold the house that made me remember bad times when I lived with him. That means you'll be living by yourself. Wait, give it some thought. No, it is set. When I find a place, I'll get in touch with you. After that, I'll send you the written notice. Notice from the government. Of course, I'll be asking for money in the split. Await my arrival. I didn't care that Daniel was crying on the other end. The call ended. After that, Daniel and I got a divorce after talking about it. Anthony actually split up with Barbara too. Barbara didn't get any money in the split because she wasted money, so she was left on her own. I was just kicked out of the room. Daniel was almost broke because he had spent all of his money on useless things, except for the few $100s he gave me every month. He now lives in a rundown flat and takes the bus to work. But Daniel might be doing better than Barbara. With no money or a place to live, Barbara had to get a live-in job. Daniel's place was too small for her. From morning to night, she works hard. It's going well for me. Since I'm single, I have more time on my hands and can handle calls from abroad. A lot of people at work depend on me now, and there have even been rumors of a raise to department head. I'm busy planning new tour packages while I